Hey, it's your old pal Lucid Stew again, and welcome to another episode of Project Spark to C++. In this video, we're going to cover values. When we talk about value, we're not talking about how much something is worth. Rather, value in this case is a representation of something rather than nothing. Values can take many forms, whether it be true, false, a letter, a sentence, an amount, or a position in space. Just about anything you can think of can be represented as a value. Values fall into one of two categories, literals and variables. Literals are values which cannot change. Some literals represent amounts and some represent symbols or other values. Which one depends on the context in which the literal is used. Variables are values that can change. Think X in math. Only in the case of variables in programming, they can take many forms, not just numbers. You can even create your own variable types. To the compiler and the machine, variables are values at a place in memory. The computer does this so that the value is available should it be called upon to be recalled or to change. Let's take a look at some examples in both Project Spark and C++. Okay, so we're in Project Spark and we're looking at a series of lines. If you're not familiar with Project Spark, commands are broken up into a when and do side. On the condition of when, do whatever. If the when side is blank, the do side will always happen. In the first line, we are displaying a literal representation of the number 2. Below that, we are creating a variable named 2 and then setting it equal to the literal representation of the number 2. Below that, we display the variable named 2. Then, to show that the variable can change, at a certain interval we set the variable named 2 to the literal representation of the number 4. The naming of the variable seems a little confusing, but this is to point out that the name of the variable doesn't affect the value, whereas the literal 2 will always represent the number 2. This page demonstrates a similar idea, but in this case the value of the literal or variable is restricted to being either true or false. This time, looking at text values, we see that the name of the variable hello world has no bearing on its value, which we can change. This page also demonstrates an issue that some people find confusing. In this case, the value we assign to the text variable on line 5 is 2. However, this is not the amount 2, it is the text symbol for 2, which is why we can set it equal to a text variable. Real quick, running the previous code to show our literal on top and our variable changing on the bottom because it is set to different values. And lastly, we have the same concepts in C++. The syntax may not be familiar, but you can see that the concepts are the same. Both systems use literals and variables. In both, the name of the variable has no bearing on its value. In both, we can have a literal number that means different things depending on the type of variable you try to assign it to. We still have 2 more videos covering the things that make up high-level syntax. The subjects are keywords and operators. After that, we'll do some basics like data types, declaration, and initialization, and then start to get away from the most rudimentary concepts. I'm hoping to have time to do at least one of these a week. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. That's all for this episode. See you next time for another episode of Project Spark to C++.